Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clark on YouTube. Oh no! Hi YouTube. Wow, I'm surprised Rapunzel didn't make the list of the most popular Disney princesses of all time. The number one princess, according to 13% at least of the people who took the survey, is Cinderella. I don't know how many of you already knew that or followed that on social media, but every once in a while, Disney fans will throw up a specific survey pertaining to something having to do with the company, and apparently Cinderella is rated as the number one Disney princess of all time. While that can be argued by some people, I can somewhat find time in agreeing with that because it seems like every single time you ask somebody who is your favorite Disney princess of all time, it's a toss up between two. Either Pocahontas or Cinderella win the battle every single time. But for me, it's always been Mandy Moore's representation of Rapunzel. I don't think anyone could have ever done it any better than what she did in 2010, 2011. Disney's 50 animated classic was an amazing representation of what everything Disney was trying to promote around the time that Tangled was at the heights of its popularity and still is one of the most revered Disney movies of all time. For the 50th Disney movie to be CGI'd, I think they did an incredible job with this one. The characters were amazing, the personalities were incredible. And you couldn't have asked for a better movie to represent what Disney was trying to promote around that generation of 2010 2011. For those of you who don't know, Sabrina Carpenter is rumored to play the live action adaptation of Rapunzel. Now, while it can be argued that Mandy Moore could also play the live action representation of Rapunzel, I think that Sabrina Carpenter is the closest representation to a real life Rapunzel that you're going to get. More so, she has said that Rapunzel is her favorite Disney princess of all time. One up for Sabrina because Rapunzel's always been my favorite for a number of reasons. Just how excited she was to explore the outside world after escaping her tower, inspired by a 3rd century story, which I'll tell you about in a few minutes. But she wanted to escape her tower. She wanted to experience life the way she wanted to. She wanted to live her life the way she wanted to. And she got the opportunity to do that when she met people like Eugene Ryder Flynn, voiced by Zachary Levi, who apparently was supposed to have been created to be the most handsome Disney prince of all time. I don't know about that one, but they certainly did a good job in at least attempting to make him the most handsome Disney prince of all time. He's been compared to celebrities like Robert Pattinson, which I don't agree, especially after how I saw how he ruined the Batman character for me just a couple of years ago. And now the Batman Part 2 is on the way out with the Joker making his premiere in that one. If anything, the Joker will get that over, not Robert Pattinson's representation of Batman, because I think that people like Val Kilmer back as far as 97 and Christian Bale as early as 2008 through 2012 did a great job in movies like Batman Begins, The Dark Knight, The Dark Knight Rises. I don't know about Robert Pattinson. There was just something about Robert Pattinson and his emotion he tried to put behind Batman that really ruined it for me. Hopefully he doesn't sign on to do any Disney movies. While it could be probably possible that he will come in to play Princess, I hope that he don't, because I was never a fan of Robert Pattinson. Probably the best role he had, the recurring role of Robert Pattinson, was, of course, Edward Cullen in Twilight, November 21st. 2008. But I think that when Tangled premiered in 2010, 2011, and then was recreated and redistributed as a series for Disney Channel with the 4 seasons, Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, it was an amazing series with such a positive message. I think the message was anything is possible in life. All you have to do is to aspire to achieve your dreams. And that's why the lights in the background there are yellow. And that's been the recurring message of my YouTube videos. Just aspire to create, aspire to achieve your dreams, and you will achieve anything. I think that Mandy Moore's representation of the character Rapunzel also was significantly done, because one thing about the voice of a character is, as the voice of a character, you have to know how to communicate with your audience. And it's somewhat of a challenge that is presented to the voiceover actor or actress to communicate with their audience. And I think Rapunzel's voice was really brought to life by Mandy Moore. Mandy Moore, we've seen her in movies like Walk to Remember. That was a beautiful movie years ago. I saw that one in high school. It was packed with so much emotion, and I thought that her representation of the character that she portrayed in that movie was so authentic and so different from anybody else. And when they were filming Tangled and doing auditions, they went through about 450 to 500 actresses to do the voice of Rapunzel, and they considered a lot of them. But once they saw Mandy Moore's exuberance put on display, They chose her hands down. I'm happy they did. And I'm happy they brought her back for the Tangled series because she was so excited to be a part of it. And who wouldn't be excited to be a part of something like Tangled? The script was amazing. The music was incredible. The theme song of Tangled is one that I listen to every single morning on my Bluetooth headset. It never fails to pop up on my YouTube playlist. It's in my favorites. Wind in My Hair is a great representation of what everybody should aspire to be in life, and I was just amazed by everything that Tangled tried to represent. And I'm kind of heartbroken they did not do a Tangled 2, but of course, with Rapunzel losing her hair, not saying they couldn't incorporate magic to have her regain it. Obviously, the chances of a Tangled sequel happening is never going to happen. Perhaps an onstage production of this one. I think it's actually in the works. From what I've been reading, the onstage production is in the works, but apparently the live action adaptation of this one starring Sabrina Carpenter has been put on hold because of everything Sabrina Carpenter has going on. Right now, she's one of the most popular pop artists in the world for songs like Please, 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 Taste is doing great. The metamorphosis of Sabrina Carpenter obviously is in question because I don't think it's really a family appealing image that she's trying to put out there with her new album. But despite that, I think Bittersweet is doing great on the Billboard charts because everybody has their opinion when it comes to a pop star in the way of an Ariana Grande or Sabrina Carpenter. But the thing is, Sabrina Carpenter has appealed to so many people from all walks of life, so many different age groups appealing to Sabrina Carpenter. Not to say that I agree with the turn of direction of Sabrina Carpenter's image in the way of music, because music obviously, inspires us to change our image considerably. And for those that don't, after they come out of a company like Disney and Nickelodeon, that is to be admired because a lot of people just immediately turn to changing their image entirely to suit the image of the record label and what the record label and the managers and the producers want. But when you see people like Victoria Justice coming out of it, for example, and not changing their image, that is something to be respected. And the fact that they're actually considering Sabrina Carpenter to be a part of this live action, which has now unfortunately been put on hold, is something that I'm really excited about because I think that Sabrina Carpenter can bring this character to life in a way that nobody else could. But with dye and dyeing Mandy Moore's hair from brown to blonde, I think you could get away with having her also be the live action adaptation of Rapunzel because there's just something about the voices of people like Mandy Moore and I don't know, Celine Dion that really bring live actions to life, whether it be their voice in the way of a script or the voice in the way of a song. I mean, you take Celine Dion and her many versions of songs like Beauty and the Beast and How Does a Moment Last Forever from 1992 to 2017, she was able to bring it to life in a way that I don't think anyone else could have ever aspired to do. And that's why Tangled made over, I think, 600 million in the box office. When a movie can pull out 600 million, I mean, it's a true testament just how far a movie can come in such a short amount of time. I mean, Tangled, it's only been about 14, 15 years since Tangled. Of course, it was originally inspired by the Brothers Grimm tale, which was written back in the 1800s, I think it was. And it's just amazing how, stories like Cinderella, for example, from 1897 can be published and then picked up immediately and turned into these amazing animated classics. I mean, look what Walt Disney did for the first time seeing Snow White when he was a teenager back in the early 1900s, seeing a silent version of that film and then turning it into what it eventually became by 1934 was just absolutely incredible. I mean, that movie has been, a revered classic for Disney for over almost 90 years. And I know that the live action of Snow White did get a lot of bad reviews in the box office, but despite getting a lot of bad reviews, I mean, you have to give actresses like Renee Zellweger a tremendous amount of credit for what she was able to do, despite all the negative comments that she made about the original classic and how she torched it. I think she did a really great job with that. And I think that people that are forthcoming, like Sabrina Carpenter, are going to definitely follow in the footsteps of Emma Watson and Haley Bailey for the portrayals of Belle and Ariel in such an authentic way. Rapunzel was inspired by a 3rd century tale of how a girl named Barbara was sentenced to life in a tower by her father because every man in the town thought she was beautiful and her father didn't want her to have a man or a relationship in her life. Can you imagine having to live like that and trying to escape a tower? It's amazing how so many stories are, the inspiration for them are drawn from so many real life scenarios. Some of them can be confirmed, others so not much so. But tales going back as far as the 3rd century, which makes you appreciate folk literature a lot more. I studied that in high school, and it teaches you how to appreciate characters of insignificance in movies like Shrek, for instance, and how they brought it to life in a way that was absolutely incredible. Characters that sometimes you've forgotten about and their significance, like the Gingerbread Man. Of course, Shrek's version of it was Gingy, but he was more significant ultimately from installment to Shrek, and that's why we're up to Shrek 5 by Christmas 2026. You'll get a greater appreciation for tales like Sleeping Beauty and Cinderella and Snow White if you actually study this kind of thing, and I would recommend that you take yourself up on the opportunity if you're ever presented with it. For me, what got me over with Rapunzel and Tangled was the music and just how much of a revered Disney princess she eventually became. She beat out Mulan in the newer generation of Disney princess ratings in a survey, and she's up there, if not in the top 3, the top 5, although she will not take the honor of being the most popular Disney princess of this new generation. I think that she's going to be a princess that is never ever going to be forgotten for just her positive message of just how anything is possible. And if there's one recurring message, one recurring theme, if you would, that I've kind of wanted to put out there on this YouTube channel, is that any dream that you have, no matter how impossible it seems to be to achieve, any dream that you have is possible. And as we take a look at this footage, this interview of Mandy Moore and Zachary Levi in just a couple of seconds here, I want everybody to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave it for me in the comments how you feel about Sabrina Carpenter coming in to portray the live-action adaptation of Rapunzel. Do you think it should be substituted for Mandy Moore? Do you think Mandy Moore should come in and do the voice in the live-action adaptation of this one? I would agree with that if they dropped Sabrina Carpenter from it. As big of a fan of Sabrina Carpenter as I am, and we're going to be celebrating the release of her album Eyes Wide Open in a couple of days on this YouTube channel too, so I've got a couple of Sabrina Carpenter interviews I want to show for you guys, and I've got a couple of surprises coming up on this YouTube channel in the forthcoming days, so make sure you subscribe to see what those surprises are. I'm not going to give anything away, but I think the argument can be made that we can have Mandy Moore come in and kind of substitute for Sabrina Carpenter with everything she's been having going on in her life right now, and all the publicity that she's been receiving, and the rumors surrounding the Tangled live action. I'm really excited to see where this one goes. So what do you say we take a look at a retro piece of footage, an interview that was conducted with Mandy Moore and Zachary Levi, and watch this together. This is the first time in a long time, what feels like forever, that I've watched this footage with you, and I'm really excited to watch this footage with you. It's been forever, or at least feels like forever, since I've watched any footage having to do with Tangled, but I remember watching this movie for the first time 15 years ago, and I was overcome with emotion. And that's the best way I can describe it for you. After hearing so many tales of Rapunzel and reading so many different variations of the story, this was an amazing adaptation. And how Disney was able to turn this one around, not to mention how he was able to turn around every classic he ever retold, whether it be Snow White, Cinderella, some of the most revered Disney princesses of all time. He did such a fantastic job in being able to tell a story for how he wanted it to be portrayed, how he wanted it to be presented. He did a great job with this, and this is why Disney turned themselves around and debut what was called the Disney Renaissance, which was a time period in the early 90s when classics like Aladdin and The Little Mermaid turned Disney around, and they exploded into creating what were called blockbusters at the time, when you would line up to the end of the block to see movies like Beauty and the Beast, The Little Mermaid, what have you. And this is the reason why we get so many amazing classics like this one retold every single time. So what do you say we watch this footage together? I am honestly really excited about it. And I think there's some actual classic Tangled footage included with this interview at the beginning. So don't forget to hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Tell me what your opinion is in the comments, and let's get to this.
Look out! This is kind of an off day for me. This doesn't normally happen.
Go. Live your dream.
I will.
Your dream stinks. I was talking to her.
So is this a dream come true for you to be playing one of Disney's leading ladies? I mean...
Yeah. I mean, I sort of feel like, what little girl doesn't dream about being a Disney princess?
Yeah.
It's sort of, as Zach has been saying, like a bucket list dream.
Yeah.
So it's really incredible to still be sitting here talking about it. It doesn't feel quite real yet. Mm-hmm. It was an amazing experience, and I think we're both like very, very proud of the film too. So it's exciting to sort of be able to get to talk about it.
Yeah. And Zachary, you're not exactly playing a knight in shining armor. You're kind of a ruffian, a scoundrel, you know, almost like a Han Solo type.
God bless you.
Yeah.
Yeah, not the shiniest of armor by any stretch of the imagination. No, but that's actually what's so great about it. I think it's neither one of these characters are the kind of archetypical prince or princess. They're a little more kind of, I don't know, down and dirty than that, and down and dirty is not really, human, and therefore relatable. I think young girls, women, whoever can relate to Rapunzel on a more human level than just like, oh, she's so beautiful and she has the gown and she's getting saved by the prince. It's like, no, she's kind of having to save herself and save him, and they're on this great adventure together, and Flynn, I hope nobody can really relate to because he's so self-serving, but he's still a great character and so much fun to play, and does, you learn so much about him and you learn why he became this way. And that part of him, people can relate to, I think. And it makes it all just, a little bit more real and fun. And it's a lot of fun. I'm really, really proud of the film. Really proud of everyone who was involved in making it. And that's a lot of people, by the way. All the animators and shaders and engineers and lighting and rigging and all these things that you normally only associate to live action films, but you have to have when you have this CG world, because it's just like shooting a movie, except that it's not real.
Right.
That doesn't make any sense.
You create the world.
Yeah, exactly.
That you're lighting.
Now, let me ask you: is it a challenge to, bring an animated character to life with your voice? I mean, where's the is that challenging for an actor? I mean, how's the process work? How do you get into character for that?
I mean, I didn't find it too different from doing a live action film or TV show or something. I think if anything, it's maybe just slightly heightened because you can't rely on your facial expressions and your physicality and your gestures and whatnot to relay the emotion of a particular scene. So it's just slightly heightened to maybe give the animators an idea of what the character needs to be doing, a guideline for what they need to do with the character. Right. But I don't know. I found maybe the only slightly difficult part was the fact that you record all of your dialogue by yourself. Mm-hmm. So I didn't get to meet Zach actually until we recorded the duet together for the song that our characters sing in the film. So it was a little bit weird at first to sort of get over that hurdle of, okay, I'm just doing this by myself, so I don't really have any feedback. I have no guideline of how I should attempt this line or that line. Mm-hmm. But we were very lucky to have two incredible directors and a fantastic writer, and so I knew that we were all in really good hands.
What's the most exciting thing for you about this film? What are you most excited about?
I mean, to be able to look back 20 years from now or 2 months from now, I mean, and be able to say we got to be a part of history. We got to, I mean, it's the 50th animated film that Disney's done, so that's a very kind of, watermark, benchmark, other mark.
This is the next big Disney film.
Well, yeah, but being the 50th too, I think is just a very cool round number. It's this thing, and then it's the first CG musical they've ever done. It's the first 3D musical that they've ever done, and it's this bucket list thing. It's this thing I've dreamt about doing ever since I was a kid and grew up singing all of this music. We both have, and so now that kids will be singing that music and quoting these lines and walking around like somebody showed me a doll the other day, like a Flynn Rider doll. They had me sign their Flynn Rider doll. I'm like, this is so weird. What am I doing? And the characters of Flynn and Rapunzel that are walking around Disneyland and Disney World right now, and Disney World, Disneyland, Euro Disney, and on all these places. It's like I can't even begin to wrap my head around that. That's just really, really weird and awesome and weird. Yeah.
You can chase each other to your heart's content, okay?
And it's also my birthday, just so you know.
I think he really should have had a voice. I think, beyond a shadow of a doubt, Maximus should have had a voice, and that's why I've been kind of campaigning to be the voice of Maximus. I think that myself and Zachary Levi could have probably had a really great on-screen relationship. But that's just me telling you what I feel and how I feel about it. I don't know how you feel about it. You can let me know in the comments. But I think I would do an amazing job as the voice of that horse. I think some characters are often sometimes underappreciated and should have voices and should be more enthusiastic. And with how enthusiastic that horse was, I think that Maximus should have been brought to life a little bit more than what he was. But that's just how I feel about that certain situation. But notwithstanding that, Tangled will go down in history as one of the most revered and one of the most celebrated Disney classics of all time. I can't even believe it's been almost 20 years since the premiere of this one, all the way back in 2010, 2011. Unbelievable. Give me a second to switch back over to OBS and we will close this thing out. Whew. Abracadabra. Everyone has had a dream of being a Disney princess. I don't think truer words have ever been spoken. The more that I think about it and reflect on it, I think that everybody at some point or another in their lives who's watching this video probably has had a dream of wanting to be their favorite Disney princess. Regardless if you're talking about Pocahontas, regardless if you're talking about Belle, regardless if you're talking about Ariel, regardless if you're talking about Aurora, who was published for the first time back in 1896. Some of these Disney princesses go back to 1896, 1897. When you talk in terms of Aurora from Sleeping Beauty or Cinderella from the self-titled classic that was first published in a book. Tangled was first published years ago, back in the early 1900s, and then it was turned into an amazing classic that was revered by so many Disney fans that I think it will never ever be forgotten, forever having left an imprint on all of our hearts. You know, sometimes you don't really appreciate voiceover actresses for how much emotion and how difficult they put behind a character and how difficult it is to portray that character, because you can't rely on being in front of a camera and expressing your emotions through facial expressions or the movement of your hands or your body the way that you want to. You have to rely on CGI now, and years ago you had to rely on the flipping of pages when you were doing traditional animation. It's really difficult to do it, but I think I would be an aspiring actor and be able to do that. For some reason, I have enough confidence in myself to be the voice of an amazing hero for Disney. It's just, I've never been given the opportunity to do it. I want to say thank you once again to the YouTube algorithm for putting me on YouTube Home seemingly every night, depending on the topics that I throw up on this YouTube channel. I can't thank you guys enough, and I can't thank you, the people watching this either together as a family or by yourself or with your friend. Maybe you've recommended this YouTube channel to a friend. I really don't know. But this YouTube channel has exploded with over 1,000+ views in less than 2 weeks. Thank you guys so much. And it would be very unbecoming of me if I didn't say thank you to you guys over 1,000 times. If I've said it 1,000 times, it won't hurt to say it one more time. I've got a lot of fun stuff and a lot of fun surprises planned for this YouTube channel in the coming weeks. I'm not going to give anything away about what's coming up on this YouTube channel, but we're going to see a huge advancement in the presentation of video quality. We're going to have some fun topics that I think everyone's going to find time and appreciating, and I promise you there will be something on this YouTube channel for virtually everyone who's either a fan of Disney, Nickelodeon, traditional animation. Probably you're a fan of video games. I've got a lot of video game trailers to review and a lot of stuff pertaining to Disney and Marvel. Marvel's going to have a big summer with stuff like Fantastic Four First Steps coming out. There's Thunderbolts, there's a lot of stuff, and of course Disney with Lilo and Stitch coming up in just a little over 2 months. So now the live action adaptation of Lilo and Stitch with Chris Saunders coming in to be the original voice of Stitch, just as he was in the animated classic back in 2001. Unbelievable stuff happening. It's going to be a fun summer, and of course we've got the huge world tour, the Worlds Collide tour with Zombies and Descendants. Everybody's excited about that. Kylie Cantrell, Ruby Rose Turner, and Mila Baker coming to a town near you, kicking off in San Diego on July 17th with tours all over the summer. We're going to have a whole lot of fun here on this YouTube channel. So if you have not subscribed or told your friend about this amazing content, you're probably going to want to do that. You're probably going to want to pick up the phone now and call them. Thankfully, you have an iPhone and can FaceTime them, because years ago, when I was a fan of Disney back in the 90s, we only had the old rotary phones or the button phones, where you'd stop laughing, where you'd simply punch in their number and say, hey, did you see the new Beauty and the Beast from 1991 or Aladdin on Thanksgiving weekend in 1992? It was a blockbuster. Man, it was so much fun being a fan of Disney back in the 90s, and it's just as much fun being a fan of Disney now with how many movies they put out. So many great movies that will never ever be forgotten. And this one is one without a shadow of a doubt that has left an imprint on all of our hearts for the rest of our lives and forever. Any dream is possible. No matter how impossible it may seem, it is attainable and it is achievable. All you've got to do is believe in yourself. Bye, YouTube.